Today, let's talk about weaknesses, specifically weaknesses in job interviews, how we talk about them, how we deal with questions in job interviews about things that we are bad at, our weaknesses. I spend about 40% of my time these days coaching people to pass job interviews, to perform well at job interviews and get jobs. And when I ask people, what is the question that you're scared of? Out of all of the common questions, which one would you rather not get? And almost always the answer is I don't want to be asked about my weaknesses. I don't want to be asked what I'm bad at. Today, I want to show you how, if you prepare for this question, then this can not only be something that you don't fear, but in fact, it can be something that you look forward to and you are excited to answer. So, let's take a look at how we do this. I'm going to show you a 3-stage process to answer this question. A really simple system that we can follow, a framework that will let us build a great answer. And we divide this process into the past, the present, and the future. So let's start with the past. We need to start with our weakness. We need to decide what that weakness is. And all good job interview answers start with the truth. So think about it. Think about what your weakness really is. You may find that just looking at a list of possible weaknesses will really help you out here. Often people don't really know what their weakness is because they don't really think about it. And that's fine. That's allowed. I'm going to put a list up here of possible weaknesses, things that you might choose to talk about. And maybe something on that list will jump out at you. You'll say, yes, that's me. I do that thing. Or maybe something here will remind you of something that you do, something connected. So if you can't think of anything, take a look at this list and see if there's anything there that you maybe like the look of and could talk about. Okay, so I said that the first part here is to talk about the past. And the way we do this is to say that this is a problem, a weakness that we have recognized, that we've noticed sometime in the past. Maybe it was last week, maybe it was last month. It shouldn't be too long ago. Don't tell us that it was 10 years ago or 5 years ago, but at some point in the past is important. So we've covered our first point. We've discovered our weakness, our problem in the past. Next, let's move on to part 2, and that is talking about the present. This is the main part, the most important part of your answer, because this is where we show how we are fixing the problem, how we are addressing it and thinking about this problem. Now, everyone has weaknesses. If you didn't have a weakness, you would be the perfect professional, and surely you should be the CEO of whatever company you are interviewing at. But no, we all have weaknesses. So, how do we talk about them? Weaknesses in job interview answers are about growth, about professional development, about identifying issues and working to solve them and to deal with these problems. So, here I want you to choose some mechanisms, some tools, some systems that you are using to fix this problem. 1 is good, 2 is probably better, 3 is about the limit there. Because what we don't want to do is list 20 different ways that we are thinking about and fixing our problem. We want to give 2, maybe 3, and go into detail about what we are doing here, how we are working on this problem. So We don't want to say that we've fixed the problem. We don't want to say that this is no longer a problem, I found the perfect solution, and it's all in the past. If that were the case, then why are you telling me about it? It's not a problem anymore. What we want to say is that we've improved the situation. It's better than it was before, but we are still working on it. We're still fighting against this problem and improving the situation. And that's stage two. This should be the longest part of your answer. It's the most important because this question is about problem solving, really. It's about identifying a problem and solving it. So, this should be the longest part of your answer. Part three of this answer is the future here. And this should be a quick note, just a moment's mention here. And what we want to do is take the skill we're trying to develop, the problem we're trying to fix, and reverse it and talk about the future. We want to say that in the future, this is going to be a strength. It's something that we're going to be really good at. Can you see? Can you see my little dog wandering around? He's improving as well. He's working on his weaknesses, aren't you? So that's our system. We start in the past, we go into the present, and we move into the future. Now, a couple of quick notes, a couple of quick bonus tips, if you like. The first one is don't say you are a perfectionist. Don't say that everything needs to be perfect. Therefore, sometimes it takes me a little longer to do my work, but hey, I produce better work. I produce the best work possible. This is not a great answer. In fact, when I worked in a role where I was interviewing people for my team, myself, and the other manager I worked with, we would kind of joke that if we interviewed 5 people in one day, at least 2 of them would tell us that they were perfectionists. Um, it's just not true. It sounds like you've Googled the answer to this question. The same with if you say I get too focused on a task and everything else disappears while I focus on that. It sounds like you've looked up the answer. It sounds like you've heard this theory that you should choose a weakness, which is actually a strength. And you've just picked something from this very short list of things. Most interviewers see through it, which is a problem if you actually genuinely have a problem with this. Yeah, that's a problem. But unfortunately, I'd recommend you choose something else. Most job interviewers aren't going to really think this is a good answer to this question. Okay, bonus tip number 2 is that I would generally keep this away from emotional things. I get some people who tell me things like, well, I do yoga, or I try to relax when I get home and take my mind off things. And these can be fine, but it's better with this answer to really focus on things that you can change at work, real strategic ideas that you can implement into the way you do your job that can fix problems. And we'll look at some examples of this in just a moment. So try to keep this away from emotions and mental health. Mental health is really important, I agree, but this is not always the best occasion to talk about it. We're trying to talk about solving problems in the way that you work. Another important point here is try not to choose something which is too directly connected to the job that you are applying for. If I were applying for a sales role, I wouldn't say that I'm bad at talking to people. Or if I were applying to work in a bank, I probably wouldn't tell them that I can't count. This is probably too much of a weakness to overcome, and they'll just hire someone else. Okay, so let's take a look at a couple of examples here. And we're going to start with expressing ideas in meetings. So let's take a listen to what an answer could sound like here. And I'll make this a little bit shorter. You can build it out a little bit more. This answer could last 3, maybe even 4 minutes. If it's 4 minutes long, you want to be saying something really important. 3 minutes is great. I'd say perfect length for this answer. 2 minutes, you've got some time there. You can add some more detail if you want. So let's take a look at this sample answer. I think that one thing that I really struggle with is expressing my ideas and giving my opinions in meetings. I noticed this a few months ago, actually. I realized that I had something I wanted to say, but I wasn't really sure where to start when telling my colleagues about it and bringing it up in a meeting. What this meant was that in several meetings, I would have an idea and no one would find out about it, even if I thought it was really good. So I've started making some changes to try and fix this. The first thing that I'm doing is I'm generally trying to speak more in meetings, contribute more in meetings. This could be little things like, I agree, that's a great idea, or I remember you talking about that last week. Just little things that can get me talking more. That's one thing that I'm doing. Another thing is I'm preparing better for meetings. I'm looking at the agendas that I'm given for meetings that I need to be in, and I'm thinking about the phrases I'm going to use, the structure I'm going to use for presenting my ideas, and I'm building plans for how I'm going to present this. What this means is that I go into meetings now with a couple of bullet points, just a couple of quick notes about the structure of the idea that I want to present. So, right now, I am better than I used to be. I'm better than I was a couple of months ago at contributing my ideas in meetings. However, I still have room to improve in this area. And I'm planning for, in a couple of months, this to actually be a strength of mine, something I'm really good at. And I'm really looking forward to being really confident contributing my ideas in meetings. Okay, let's go for one more example here. And I'm going to give the example of struggling to give feedback. So you're not very confident giving feedback to people. Okay, let's put this idea through our 3-part system. A few months ago, I noticed that I'm actually quite bad at giving feedback to the people who work on my team, my direct reports. And I thought I need to change this. I realized that I wasn't giving much feedback because I wasn't very confident with it, and I didn't really know how to do this. So I did a couple of things to work on this. The first thing that I did was I started giving more feedback. I think one of my problems was that I was saving it for the end of the week or the end of the month or a quarterly review. Instead, now I try to give feedback more often, every couple of days maybe. And this is very often positive feedback. So now I give lots of praise and compliments, and I'm trying to just build a culture in my team of giving feedback, both positive and negative. And I find that this makes it easier to give that negative feedback. The other thing that I did was I talked to my manager. I talked to the other managers around me. And I realized that these people aren't just my colleagues, they're an incredible resource for knowledge and skill. And I have fantastic professionals around me with great experience in this area. So I've talked to a few of them about ideas and been able to hear how they deal with it as well. I hope that soon giving feedback will be a strength of mine. And I hope that I will be one of those people who will be able to tell colleagues how I give feedback and how I do it really well with my team. I spend about 40% of my time helping people prepare for job interviews these days. If you'd like to see the kind of thing that I do with the rest of my time when I help people to generally improve the way that they communicate in English at work, then I'll link a video just up here and you can see me analyze the English of Bruce Lee, the actor Bruce Lee. That's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, folks. Take care. See you soon.